right, guys, we're going to go ahead and get started. My name is Lorelei. I am a licensed clinical social worker, and I'm the on-site employee assistance program contact person for Pinellas County government. I started in January, and I am here on site in downtown Clearwater 19 hours a week, and can be reached by my cell phone or by email, or you could just drop in if you'd like. You can access all that on the A to Z page under E or L. L for my name or E for EAP to get the contact information. But I'm going to give you guys a little bit more information about the EAP at the end. So hold tight for that. So Brittany, the on-site nurse coach, is co-hosting with me today. And Brittany is going to be moderating the chat. If there's anything that is urgent, Brittany will jump in and tell me. I don't do very well with multitasking, so I will check it at the end and answer any questions. But if there's something urgent, like technical, please jump in, Brittany, and just let me know. So today's webinar is on managing financial stress. And we try to pick things that are both pillars of the wellness program, but also timely. And financial stress is something that almost everyone can identify with. It's interesting, even people that that maybe have more means will still report that they have some financial stress because of trying to spend their money wisely or make decisions. So it can create stress in a lot of different ways. But so this presentation was put together by Cigna, and they used some data from 2010 that said that about 75% of the people they surveyed say they are stressed about finances. And I thought, well, that's 2010. It's got to have changed, right? I mean, everybody is stressed now. So I was able to find a survey that was done last year, 2021, by Capital One, and it had about the same statistics. So even though there is more going on, it's about the same amount of people, which kind of surprised me. But I know I am not a financial person, so I'm not going to talk to you about investing or whatnot. I am a therapist. So my perspective is going to be on problem solving and just managing your overall stress. But when we talk about the EAP, we'll get to a little bit of the things that can help with that. So you guys also should have a list of handouts, and I will refer to some of them, but not all of them. They're really good. They're things that you can do either by yourself or with your family to just sort of see if you're on the same page. So those are a good takeaway to use with that. All right. So these are the seminar objectives, and you can see that we wanted to identify what causes the stress. I'm a big believer in that if you don't understand and identify what it is that's causing you to be stressed, it's so much more difficult to actually come up with a plan. So identifying signs of financial stress, recognizing when it's happening to you or your family, and learning strategies for addressing the stressors, and also looking at your own personal stress management strategies. A lot of times how we handle stress and actually how we handle money is from the way we were raised. So it's good to know that if you have a partner or if you have someone that you're sharing finances with, they might not have the same upbringing. They might have the same financial values. There's not a right answer or a wrong answer, but it's just interesting to be able to see that there is a difference. And we're also going to talk about other resources that can help. So how do you know if you're experiencing financial stress? Well, there's a couple of ways that I think can help you see that, is that that you just are maybe more aware of physical sensations. Take the financial part out of it and just say, I can tell that I'm stressed. Okay, so I maybe don't know why I'm stressed, but I can tell that I'm stressed. I might be short-tempered. I might not be sleeping as well. I might be overeating, undereating, overindulging in other things, over-exercising, all kinds of things. And so, okay, you can pick up on that. Yes, I am stressed because there's been some changes. And then you try to say, what is it? Okay, so if you are dwelling on the what ifs or feeling guilty when you spend money, or if you argue with your partner over spending priorities, those are the ways that you can tell that it's really stressing you out. A lot of times my patients will tell me that they feel guilty for not being able to give their family the things that they think they should give them, or the things that they think other families have. And it's really, really important to just say, what does our family, or what do I value? It doesn't matter what everyone else is doing. And I'll talk about this more later in the program, but narrating your decisions for your kids, if you have kids, so that they understand why you're doing what you're doing, and ultimately teaching them to have financial sense. All right. So how do we know if it's taking a toll? So you could experience, like I said earlier, about, that we bring to a relationship, if you have a partner, you bring to a relationship certain values that were either instilled in you or were missing. And I say it that way because a lot of times it is that we do it the way our family did it, or we do it the opposite the way our family did it, because maybe you grew up in a family where there was no financial sense, and there was a lot of maybe food insecurity or housing insecurity. And so you grew up knowing that you're going to try to do it differently with your kids, or with your family, or with just yourself. And I think that that's important to just kind of research, do some introspection about, how does this happen? Where did it come from? So when we're under financial stress, we might not be going out as much. We might not be going on vacations as much. We might not doing any of the activities that incur a cost. And so, you can think about that as like, okay, we're being responsible, we're living within our means, but you also might not be replacing those activities with other activities that are free or low cost. And so what you might notice is this social void in your life, and not really doing anything fun, not doing anything that brings you joy. And just like we all had to be flexible during the pandemic, it's the same thing when you're on a financial diet. We have to be flexible. We have to find things that do bring us joy that we can do that are less expensive or free. Like how we all were going to the parks during the pandemic because parks were open. Parks are free, things that you can do as a family. Maybe we can't afford to go out to lunch, but we can pack a picnic and we can go to the park when it's not 100 degrees, by the way. Anyway, so that's the kind of thing, like you want to manage these things so they don't take the toll. Because what happens, we all know it can be physical illness, it can be headaches, stomach aches, insomnia, overindulging, things like that. But it also the lack of intimacy in the family. And again, if you don't think there's any fun in your family, then that tends to produce more guilt. And then all kinds of things happen with that. And when you add to this, I always like to remind people when I go out and respond to an event at a workplace, it's not like that you lived in a vacuum with absolutely no stress, and then all of a sudden you have financial stress. No, you already had stress, and now you have financial stress. So again, there's all kinds of stuff, all kinds of layers that I think are really important to be aware of. So the first slide that you guys have is financial health exam. And it's a checklist. You can do this later, or like I said, with your family, if you have a partner or kids. But it just sort of has you kind of be aware, take accountability for the things that you do. Like I know that when I was growing up and I was becoming an adult and I got my first checking account, I was told that I needed to reconcile my checkbook every month, if not more often. I don't think people do that anymore. I think what they do is they just are always on the mobile banking app, and you're checking every single time, and you notice when a check clears, or you notice when you use your ATM card at the store or on Amazon or whatever. So I think that it's a little bit different than maybe the way your parents were raised, or maybe the way you were raised if you're closer to my age. But I think it's important to just hold accountability for yourself. What is it that you do? Do you keep track of your spending? Do you use a budget? Do you use an Excel spreadsheet? So another thing that can happen when you are more aware of how you're spending is to look at your value filter for how you purchase things. Okay, we talk about needs versus wants. Again, that's something that's very important for parents to teach their children if you have children, or nieces and nephews for that matter. I mean, I just think it's just a very important thing to learn, a life lesson. So to differentiate between a need and a want, but then also the value filter. Like I know I'm married and my husband and I have a rule. It used to be $100. I think now it's like probably $200, but that we didn't make a purchase over that amount without talking it over. Even if it was something like we need to get new tires, even if it was something that was really a need because for safety, we still talked about it because we didn't want to cause a stress, a crisis. Excuse me. So that was our value filter. Like we would say, okay, if we're spending more than $100 or $200, let's look at what else is on the calendar. Let's look at what else that we value. And if it's coming up to the holidays, well, we valued when our kids were little, being able to give them a certain number, a certain value of gifts. And so that would be like, okay, we value our Christmas tradition more than we value, me going out and getting a new coffee maker or something. We can just make do with what we have. So again, it's about being on the same page with the people that you live with. And that will help with the financial stress. It doesn't create more money, but it certainly helps you work better as a team. Some other ways is, tracking your spending, whether you do it with an Excel spreadsheet, whether you do it with a cash economy. Cash economy used to be something that I would encourage a lot of people to do because it helped them keep track of their spending. And today I know most people use their card, but if you think about it, it's a lot easier to part with cash on a card than it is with cash in your hand. So I will tell people, if you can, for your extra expenditures, for your extra coffee or going out to lunch or whatever, is give yourself a cash allowance for the month or for the week. And when that money's gone, you no longer can stop for a coffee. So it keeps you in check. It's not meant to punish you, but it does keep you in check. Okay, so I know that some of us sometimes get in over our head. You have creditors calling you, you have overdue notices coming in the mail. So that adds an extra layer of stress. I know that there are rules and laws about debt collectors, and I also know that they don't always follow them. And so, that can be a stressor too. And you might find yourself not even wanting to answer your phone if you don't know who it is. I mean, a lot of people do that anyway, but you might notice yourself getting anxious when the phone rings and you don't know who it is. So again, one of the ways to deal with that is if you're in that position is to keep paying on your bills what you can, negotiate with companies when you can. Don't ignore them because it just gets worse. I used to work at Morton Plant Hospital, and they have a foundation like most hospitals do, most not-for-profit hospitals. And so they would offer scholarships to people that couldn't pay their copays, or maybe they weren't insured at all. But you know what? They're not going to come looking for you. You have to go to them and ask. And so I encourage people, call them, say, look, I'm having difficulty making this bill staying current. Can we negotiate a different payment plan? Do you have a scholarship program? And if all else fails, there's always debt consolidation. And again, we'll talk about that at the end when I give you some information about your EAP. But yeah, things always get worse when we ignore them. It's the same with medical issues. I'm sure Brittany would agree with that. Things don't normally just go away. But so stay on top of it and talk with people and see if there's anything that can be done. So this slide talks about if you have a partner, how can you plan with your partner? Getting organized, of course, is the first thing that I would recommend. But also scheduling a time once a week to discuss and manages the finances together. This is important because people tell me that it can be traumatic if you don't know when that conversation is going to happen. And so you might find yourself doing avoidant behavior just to not have that conversation. So it's good to say, okay, Monday, most people don't like Mondays anyway, right? I'm just joking, but Monday at 9 o'clock after we put the kids to bed, We're going to sit down and for 30 minutes, we're going to go over what bills are due this week, what bills are due this month, what money is coming in, and we're just going to do a checkup with each other, focusing on the positive and not just the money. The positive, an example of that would be like, I see that you're working remote half the time now, so you're not using as much gas. This is great. This is saving us money. So again, we're not creating more money. We're just managing the money that already is coming in, and try to use a win-win negotiating approach where it's not about finding fault or blame. It's about problem solving. And so when you do schedule it for a certain time, for a certain amount of time, it tends not to get so stressful, because we're only going to talk about it for a half hour, and then we're not going to keep bringing it up during the week. We're just going to work our plan. I think that's important. A lot of people forget that once you make a plan, let's work the plan, let's apply the plan, and then let's reevaluate. Let's not reevaluate every single day. That's too much for most people to handle, is to check in every day. Let's just stick to our plan. We've got a plan. It's a well thought out plan. Let's stick to it. If it's not working in a week's time, a month's time, we'll reevaluate. But it does help to just kind of start it that way. So again, if you have children or children that you influence, like nieces and nephews, whatnot, make budgeting a family affair. You can hold a family finance meeting once a month. Again, you're not sharing everything with the children, but you are narrating why you're making the decisions that you're making. Keeping the kids involved also, they can make a difference. So not only are you teaching them how to do this, but it is a group effort of like, okay, I'm going to do this week to try to save, to spend less money. What's something that you guys can do? And, their suggestions might not be practical, but again, it's a place to start. So they say that I'm not going to buy my lunch at all this week. Well, that's a nice thought, but you do need to eat. So what else could we do? And so using that as a teaching moment, I think, is really important. And again, it just so much reminds me of what we did during COVID. We brainstormed as a family. All right, so what's safe to do? What's open? What can we do? Same kind of idea. So again, just getting everybody involved. And just like how in weight management, they have stopped calling them diets so much as lifestyles or lifestyle choices. I like to say this is the family budget, not this is how we're going to spend less money and deal with our stress of not having enough money. Trying to use the positive language can be very effective. So there is another handout that goes with this slide. It's the Stretch Your Money slide. And let me just pull that up for me. Okay. These are not in order. Stretch Your Dollar slide. All right, so this is several common sense ways to save money. Even small savings can add up over time. So these are suggestions that might not apply to every family or every person, but they can be tips that you could apply. So it's just sort of like a brainstorming thing. I'm sure that most people have heard of a lot of these, but a lot of people have been cutting the cable cord and are doing subscriptions that can get just as expensive as cable. So I encourage people to shop around and see what it is that you really need. But extreme couponing is something that you'll see on social media, on different things. You don't have to be an extreme couponer to make a difference. I mean, even if you are shopping at Publix, the BOGO deals, to stock up on things that will last. But going to stores like Aldi has become one of my favorite grocery stores to go to. Now, I can't get everything I need there, but I definitely can save money by going in there. So you might have to plan it out a little bit more. But so we all did the staycations or thought about the staycations during COVID. So it's the same thing. What can we do that's going to help save our money that we already have? My grandmother used to tell me that it wasn't about how much money you make, it was how much money you kept. So, you're working with a pot of money, and how are you going to spend it so that you have enough money for your needs? So personal care during a period of financial stress is very important. We're not saying that you shouldn't go to the doctor or that you shouldn't take your medicine or your vitamins if you're so inclined to take vitamins, but use preventative care benefits. A lot of times going to your primary care, there is no copay. But if you go to the walk-in clinic or the ER, there is a copay. So using preventative care can save you a lot of money. Urgent care versus emergency room, always going to save you a lot of money. Generic prescriptions, if available. If you are at the doctor's office and they're giving you a prescription that is a new medication that hasn't been out very long, there's not going to be a generic for it. Ask for samples. A lot of times doctors do have samples that they can give out to people, and it doesn't hurt to ask. So ask for samples. The other thing is, you can also go on the pharmaceutical manufacturer's website and see if there's a patient assistance program. A lot of people don't know about that, or people think that it has to do with people who don't have insurance, but actually it is for people that have insurance. And I'm sure that there is a financial reason for them, and that's how they do it. I think they're trying to get on the formularies for different insurance companies, but look for the patient assistance program. A lot of times that is incredibly helpful. Sometimes it's like free, but again, just like the scholarships at the hospitals, if you don't ask about it, you're not going to get it. You're not going to know about it. And also the other thing that I remind people is Publix has certain medications that are free. So sometimes it's cheaper not to use your prescription coverage. Walmart has a list of medications that are $5. Again, check it out. Make sure that you're not spending more with your copay, because again, we're in the driver's seat. So just being aware of different ways that you can save money. So this next slide talks about secondary stress from financial stress. So it's about the difference between empathy, sympathy, or detachment. So some people may experience secondary stress by being around people who are having serious financial difficulties, people that can't pay their bills, can't afford to buy necessities and whatnot. So while we can be sympathetic and we can, I know one department has a food pantry, which I think is really cool. I know that certain schools in Pinellas County school system have food pantries, and they're for the staff. I think at the schools, if there was a family that was really in need, a student family, they would also offer that to them. But it is a way that we can help each other out. It's confidential. Anyone can go into the food pantry. Most anyone can use the food pantries in Pinellas County. If you Google it, if you are in a time of need for food, there's a lot of food pantries, and so they're out there for us, and that's what they're for. So again, we can be sympathetic, but we don't want to take on too much of someone else's hardship, because it will affect us as well. It takes a toll on you. So sympathy is defined as feeling what another person is feeling. If you're frightened, I can pick up on that, and I also will feel my pulse going up or my blood pressure going up. Empathy is when you understand the feelings and experiences of others without actually having those feelings. So you can feel for them, but you're not experiencing the same feelings. So when we're empathetic, it helps us to remain calm and objective, whereas with sympathy, we're kind of in the boat with you riding along. Detachment is at the far end of the spectrum. That's indifference or aloofness. Now, some people will detach in order to cope. You'll see it happen like when people go into shock. That's a form of detachment, because it's too big, too much for them at that moment for them to process it all. So that's why they will sometimes detach. So there is a place for detachment, but it's not a situation we want to stay in, because we're not really in touch with what's going on, and people could actually perceive you as cold and uncaring. So it's very important to try to have a balance between detachment and empathy. Now, I know that there are times where sympathy is going to come into play, but it shouldn't be our go-to feeling, I don't think. So different stress management strategies. So this slide lists some things that we can all do, minimizing our exposure to negativity, either negative situations or negative people, trying to adopt a attitude of thankfulness, thankful for what we do have, and making sure that we're taking care of ourselves, making sure that we're drinking enough water, making sure that we're going for a walk, doing things like that. Go to the gym if you're someone who likes to go to the gym, but also making healthy choices. You know, I know as well as you guys know that the dollar menu is usually not the healthiest food, but the dollar menu is the dollar menu. So, you know, if that's where you're getting some of your meals, then you want to try to, you know, up your fruits and vegetables at a different time. Make sure that you're, you know, drinking water, things like that. Things that are good for us. Again, think to diet versus lifestyle. We don't want to feel like we're doing without. We want to feel like we're doing good. We're taking care of ourselves. We're doing things that actually help us. All right. So again, more stress management strategies. So maintaining routines. I can't stress this enough. I think routines help ground us. They help keep us organized. They also, most children need routine in order to know what to expect. So routines are really helpful. Do what you can, accept what you must. Think of the serenity prayer, you know? So we do the best we can and we accept the things that we can't change. There's a lot of things we can't change. Like I said earlier, you know, if it's not raise time, if you don't have a second job, you're going to get the same amount of money at work if there's no overtime offered, whatnot. But the things that you can do is maybe you do get a second job, or maybe you start selling things, you know, at a garage sale or something like that. So those are things you can do, but accepting the things that are fixed. For now, this is what's fixed and we're going to accept it. And then redirecting your thoughts. And that's about not going to the negative. So you can find yourself thinking, you start to obsess maybe about worrying about how are we going to make the bills? Okay, we have a plan. We have looked it over. We need to work our plan. That's a positive thought. So redirecting your thoughts so that you're not just focused on the things that are beyond your control or that are negative. All right, so you also have a slide about resources for financial stress. Okay, so that is going to be more of the national resources. It's not just for our area, but it gives you some ideas. And then I think that if you go on those websites, it might direct you to something local. Another resource that I direct people to is 211. If you call 211, it's a trained person who can help you find the resources in our area. They can help you find the food pantries. They can help you find, you know, if there's a way to get your power bill reduced, something like that. But also you guys have a benefit of being able to have a 30-minute consult about finances through your EAP. This would be a good time for me to remind you guys that even if you are not employed under the Cigna insurance through the county, let's say that you have a family member that carries the insurance for the family, so you're not on Cigna, you still qualify for the EAP. And anyone that lives in your household qualifies for the EAP. And the caveat for that too is, like, let's say that you have college kids who aren't living at home, they still qualify because they're still your dependents. So it's a very generous benefit, but I think most people, myself included, when I talk about the EAP, I tend to focus on the therapy aspect, that you can have therapy sessions, but you also have the consult for financial management, which I think is wonderful. And that's a free 30-minute telephone consult. So the benefits of the EAP. So I'll do the therapy part first, because again, that's what I'm most familiar with. So you have 6 free visits per issue. Okay, per issue. So if you wanted to talk to someone for 6 visits about your job, whether or not you're thinking of changing jobs or how to handle inner office personalities, something like that, and then you decide that you want to continue with that therapist because it's really helping you, then maybe you're going to get 6 sessions based on anxiety. So again, it's per issue. So just make sure that it's something that does pertain to you, but you do get more than the 6 per year. The sessions can be face-to-face, or they can be virtual, or they can be over the telephone. The other thing about this is you don't need authorization if you want to see me. If you would like to see someone in the community, which I totally understand, you do need to call the 800 number or go online to request authorization. This is again on the A to Z under EAP, but the 800 number is 1-800-862-3557, option 4, and they can get you hooked up with a therapist in your area. The nice thing about if you would like to do virtual is that it just needs to be someone that's licensed in the state of Florida. So it's a huge, huge network. We didn't have that option before virtual. You know, it had to be somebody that was close to home or whatnot, or close to work. You also have the option of just speaking to somebody one time. Let's say that you just want to talk to somebody because you're in a crisis. You can call that 800 number and talk to somebody right then. You can also call me if I'm not in session or I'm not in a meeting. Then I will pick up and I will talk to you, and same thing, you don't need to have authorization for that. The other thing is sometimes people just want to come in and just talk about something that they only need 1 or 2 sessions. That's fine too. It doesn't have to be ongoing counseling. EAP is much more broad in that sense. It is all confidential. All of the therapists that you would see, myself included, are independent contractors and not employees of Cigna. So the records belong to us. We do report demographics. So those kind of, that kind of information does go to the county. Excuse me, but everything else is confidential. My actual records are cloud-based. So, you know, it's my laptop, it's my program, no one sees it. The crisis call where you can call the 800 number, that's 24 hours a day, any day of the week. And like I said earlier, it's for anyone in your house. But then beyond the therapy aspect, you also have work-life support, such as, say you need some help understanding what kind of resources are in our area for elder care or adult daycare, or maybe you are going to adopt a child and you would like to have the financial part answered, or actually a 30-minute free legal consultation. You could do that. You get that benefit. It helps you kind of see what your options are. But also the EAP, like I said earlier, you get the financial consult, but you get the legal consult, and also just resources in our area. Very, very helpful, I think, for that. So you'll see that I did not go over, here's the resources. I did not go over all of the different handouts. Some of them are more self-explanatory. Like I said, there's things that you can go over that just sort of help you and your family, or you yourself. Again, it's about raising your awareness so that you know what's going on with you. I think that it's so important. You know, I usually will, when I have a couple that is getting ready to move in together, get married, whatever, I'll say, so tell me what your Christmas tradition is. And they're like, what? And I'm like, yeah, if you open presents on Christmas morning or Christmas Eve, if you celebrate Christmas. And it's so funny because people will be like, well, we open them on Christmas morning. That's how it's supposed to be. Well, there's no supposed to be, right? It can be whatever the tradition is with your family. And I just think it's really important to just keep that in mind. Spending money, saving money, budgeting, it's not the same in every family. And it doesn't mean that it's wrong. It just means that it's different. And so if we go into it with more of an open mind and a sense of humor, it's going to be less stressful. So hopefully these kind of things have been helpful. Just some ideas. Again, you are getting managing financial stress from a therapist's point of view, not a money manager's point of view. So that's always going to be my slant on things. But I just think that we just have to realize that the stress is not going to go away tomorrow. So we have to figure out how to manage it well. So that's the most important thing. So I don't see any questions in the chat. And if you enjoyed this program, it has been recorded and it takes a little while for it to be available, but at some point it will be available for people if you want to refer anybody to look at it. If you have any suggestions of programs that we should be doing, please let us know. We have Brittany is our nurse coach, and we also have Shannon, who is our dietitian. She is our nutrition coach. And we also have Candy, who is our on-site Cigna insurance rep, who can answer your questions. So all of that is on the A to Z information to give you more information. But please let us know if you have suggestions for anything that we should be doing. We love to hear from everyone. And I appreciate you guys listening in. All right, so have a good lunch. Take some time for you. We ended a little bit early, but hopefully it's all good stuff. So thank you guys. Thank you.